What's going on, everybody? J-How here, and in this Diablo 3 Barbarian guide, we're going to cover the new updated Furious Charge build mixed with the Immortal Kings. It's going to look a little different because you're going to be relying on throwing some boulders at people. So let's get into this build heading into Season 6 and patch 2.4.1. So let's take a look at the skills here. Ancient Spear with Boulder Toss, Call of the Ancients together as one, Furious Charge with Merciless Assault, Battle Rage with Bloodshed, War Cry with Veteran's Warning, Wrath of the Berserker with Insanity, and for your passives, Berserker Rage, Ruthless, Rampage, and Animosity. Now, as I said in the build-up here, Ancient Spear with Boulder Toss, believe it or not, this is no longer just to get a little bit of damage, and it's no longer just a Fury Dump to be able to heal yourself. Yes, that will help. But we're going to take a look at the gear right after we take a look at the skills, and I'll explain exactly why Ancient Spear with Boulder Toss is going to be so much more valuable now. This is basically going to expend all remaining Fury and deal 20% weapon damage for every point of Fury expended to enemies within 9 yards of the impact location. So this is a huge bonus, a huge amount of damage, and when you talk about being able to get all of your Fury out there, you want to be able to stack that Fury and do massive, massive damage. Call of the Ancients together as one, no-brainer here. 50% of all damage dealt to you is instead divided evenly between the Ancients. This is a huge damage mitigation. Furious Charge with Merciless Assault. Obviously, you are going to be using this over and over again. Getting that Furious Charge in there, it's going to do some damage. It's going to allow you the mobility that you need to try and stay alive. But again, this is going to be more valuable when we get to the gear section. Battle Rage with Bloodshed. Critical hits cause an explosion of blood, dealing 20% of the damage done to all other nearby enemies. When you talk about the Ancient Spear with Boulder Toss and to be able to get it in there and to splash that damage around, that's a huge, huge bonus. And plus you also get the increase in damage and the critical hit chance. So huge bonus to your damage there looking at Battle Rage. War Cry with Veteran's Warning. Increases dodge chance by 30% while affected by War Cry. This also gives you increased armor there by 20%. You're going to be using this getting around. You need to have some survivability, and War Cry is a great way to go. Wrath of the Berserker with Insanity. You're going to have this up 100% of the time. And when you talk about the fact that you get critical hit chance, attack speed, dodge chance, and movement speed, it's basically a no-brainer. You also get 50% increased damage there. This is going to be up 100% of the time, and we'll talk about exactly how you make that happen when we talk about the gear and the set bonuses that are going to allow you to have this. Berserker Rage. You deal 25% additional damage while near maximum Fury. Now, the objective is to Furious Charge around, get to that max Fury, and then toss your Boulder Toss. And the fact that that's already going to be doing so much damage, and you add another 25% of damage onto it, that's a huge bonus there. Next up, Ruthless. You deal 40% additional damage to enemies below 30%. At high greater rifts, it's going to take a little bit longer to kill enemies. And when they have those high health pools, 40% of their addition or their damage, or 30% of their health, is quite a bit of health. And when you're talking about doing 40% more damage to somebody that has that much health, this is huge at high greater rifts. And when you talk about elites and greater rift bosses, that's what's going to be there. Rampage, increased strength by 1% for 8 seconds. Now, you should be able to consistently keep this up by continuing to kill enemies throughout an entire rift. The extra 25% strength there is just such a huge bonus, and it's really hard to go without it. Animosity, increase all Fury generation by 10% and increase max Fury by 20%. When you talk about that, the extra 20 Fury there, and you take a look back at Ancient Spear, and you deal 20% weapon damage for every point of Fury, 20% more damage with 20 more Fury there, it's just too hard to pass up. Moving on to the gear, let's take a quick look at Immortal Kings. This should look very familiar, so we're not going to go in depth about it. Call of the Ancients last until they die with that 2-piece bonus. And then also the 4-piece bonus, reduce the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients by 3 seconds for every 10 Fury you spend with an attack. Now, if you're Furious Charging and then using your Boulder Toss, this should be extremely easy to keep your Wrath of the Berserker up because you want to have that up 100% of the time. It's just way too valuable not to make sure that you're tossing out your Boulder Toss and keeping this alive. Now, let's look at the major changes on Ray Cores, right? So, the 2-piece bonus says Furious Charge refunds a charge if it hits only one enemy. That's basically put there for the Greater Rift boss, or if you find yourself stuck on one of those yellow elites, which if you're there, that's going to be a tough thing to deal with. but that's really there for end game. The 4-piece bonus, Furious Charge gains the effect of every rune and deals 300% increased damage. So on Furious Charge, it doesn't really matter what you go with there, so long as you pick one of the physical runes, because you want to be able to do physical damage and add that on your gear to be able to pair well with your Ancient Spear Boulder Toss. Now, here comes the real kicker, the 6-piece bonus. Every use of Furious Charge increases the damage of your next Fury spinning attack by 750%. This effect stacks. Every use of a Fury spinning attack consumes up to 5 stacks. So you get at least 5 Furious Charges out. Your Fury should be built up by then, and you dump Boulder Toss, and that's already stacked 5 times. That is a huge bonus to your Boulder Toss. You aim that Boulder Toss right, and you get that splash damage that's going to be there for it, and you're going to see enemies at high grade or rifts just disappear off the map because of this 6-piece bonus with the Raycors set. So when we do look at the Raycor and the Immortal King set, 2 items that you will 100% need to have is the Immortal King's Boulder Breaker and the Immortal King's Tribal Binding, which is the belt. So you'll need the weapon and the belt of the Immortal King set. That's how you can get the 4-piece bonus. Then it's just a matter of mixing in 5 Raycor pieces and 1 Immortal King piece in those other slots, whether it's the gloves, shoulders, helm, chest, pants, or boots. So you can mix and match there, whichever one. You only need 1 more Immortal King's piece after that, and 5 Raycor's pieces, and you'll be able to get the 4- and 6-piece bonus with the Ring of Royal Grandeur, which we'll get to here in a second. Now, the other thing is Focus and Restraint is going to be huge once again. You talk about the fact that Furious Charge is now acting as a generator, and then Boulder Toss is your spender. This will allow you to have that max damage there when you talk about proccing both the Focus and Restraint for doing that damage and that rotation there. For your bracers, you're going to be looking at Ancient Parthen Defenders. That says that each stunned enemy within 25 yards reduces your damage by up to 12%. That's 9 to 12%. You talk about that damage mitigation there, and the fact that Furious Charge, you're going to be running around stunning everything in sight, then this is a huge bonus. The Barbarian lacks a lot of survivability when we talk about high grade or rifts, so to be able to mitigate a lot of that damage, this is one way to do it. Also, you want to make sure and roll physical skill damage, as we talked about a moment ago, on your bracers, because all of your skills should be physical there, and that's really going to help out. The Barbarian has survivability issues, and so if you can get a Mara's or any other type of damage mitigating amulet here, it's really going to help fill the role of increasing survivability for the Barbarian, which is one of his lacks in the late game in high grade or rifts. So being able to get that there, if you can get physical skill damage, crit hit chance, and crit hit damage, that's going to be a huge bonus to what you're trying to accomplish. Taking a look at the legendary gems, Esoteric Alteration, again, is really going to help you mitigate a lot of that damage. So if you can have that on board, that's going to help out quite a bit. Bane of the Trapped is another one. You talk about the aura that you're going to have, plus the increased damage to control and parrying effects, and we just talked about those stuns. That's a huge bonus when you're tossing that Boulder Toss out there. Next up, Bane of the Stricken. This is going to help. And again, it does help quite a bit when you get to that Greater Rift boss, because it can take a while. And so having Bane of the Stricken on there is another great addition to this build. Taking a look at Kanai's Cube, and this is what I was talking about. It's going to be a little bit different when you talk about the fact that you're going to be revolving really heavily around Boulder Toss. So we're actually going to be looking at something different in the weapon slot here. The 300th Spear. Increase the damage of Weapon Throw and Ancient Spear by 60%. And when you're tossing that out there, because Boulder Toss is part of that Ancient Spear, that's a huge, huge damage increase. Also taking a look at this, Skolar's Salvation. Increase the damage of Ancient Spear Boulder Toss by 100%. When your Boulder Toss hits 5 or fewer enemies, the damage is increased by 150%. And you talk about that on the Greater Rift boss. That's huge. Now, if you do have a really well-rolled pair of Skolars, you can swap out the Ancient Parthen Defenders and basically swap spots here in the Bracer slot. And lastly, taking a look at the jewelry slot, the Ring of Royal Grandeur is what makes this all work. We talked about having 5 pieces of Raycors, 3 pieces of Immortal Kings, but you want to get that 4- and 6-piece bonus, and the only way to do it is the Ring of Royal Grandeur, and that's what you're going to need here to wrap up Kanai's Cube. So that's going to wrap it up for the skills and the gear. Keep in mind that when you're using Furious Charge, you can get into danger just as much as you can get out. Also, having life per Fury spent, and when you dump that Fury with that Boulder Toss, it's another heal for the Barbarian to stay alive there. So keep these in mind when you're dashing around the maps, trying to get through those high greater rifts here with the new and updated Furious Charge Boulder Toss Immortal Kings build. That's right, it's a tongue twister, but it's all there. It's all there for you to have fun with. Go around and hopefully you enjoy the play style. The Leapquake build is still around, as well as if you have high enough other gear, the Whirlwind build is back in effect. So be on the lookout for more guides as well. Be sure and share this with your friends if you're going into Season 6 with the Barbarian and say, hey, this is what's going on right now, and this is pretty much going to be topping the leaderboards. But be on the lookout for more updated guides as well when everything is live. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure and hit that like button if you like the build or you like the video. And as always, till next time, happy hunting. See you again.